Hello and welcome to the first episode of Worlds Beyond. And as I mentioned in my previous video, I'm going to be starting with Neverwinter, which is a free-to-play game from Cryptic and Perfect World Entertainment. Now, this one actually is a free-to-play game, doesn't have some big cash wall blocking half the content. It was built from the ground up this way, and as such, all the content is available. So you have all the races except for two, which are through little content packs, and you have all classes and everything. Alright, let's get started. There's a cinematic here, but I'm going to skip it, and you guys can check it out on your own roll. So, Neverwinter is a Dungeons & Dragons based game in the only sense that it takes place in the Forgotten Realms. The classes are familiar, but not the same, and the same thing with the spells. So, there's 11 races, 2 of which I mentioned were locked. And each have their own special passives and increase certain stats, but nothing too spectacular. Okay, so you got half-orc, human, elf, it's wood elf specifically, half-elf, high elf, and this is where the two races are divided. There's a moon elf and the playable sun elf. Moon elf is the one that's locked. Tiefling, halfling, dwarf, drow, and that's where the other one is. There's the renegade, which is a break-off as well. We're going to go with dwarves because I like dwarves, and yeah. Okay, so Neverwinter offers 6 different classes. There's a light trinity system for the roles, but it's not that bad, and it gets a little tighter at the higher end of the game, but again, like, it's still not bad. Like, it's not as demanding as other games. So you have got the Guardian Fighter, which is essentially your tanking class, but all classes do decent amounts of damage in this game. Your Devoted Cleric is your healing class. And the other 4 have their own support roles on top of the damage that they deal. So the Control Wizard is really good for lockdown, moving mobs around the room with different spells and abilities like that. The Great Weapon Fighter does stuns, can do a little bit of off-tanking on heavier hitting mobs, and has self-healing abilities. The Hunter Ranger is the newest class, and its role is pretty much snares, slows, it has a few buffs. And then there's the Trickster Rogue, which can off-tank casters using like evasion type abilities and things like that. And of course, like I said, these are the 4 DPS classes. They do a lot more damage than the other 2 that I mentioned. This is where you can customize your attributes. You just use your roles and your racials and whatnot to get kind of what you want. It's not a big, huge deal. You'll get a couple more as you level up. But again, like I said, it's not a huge deal. So your customization options past that, you've got your presets. You can take one if you like. Or there's a decent amount of choices if you want to do customize. So you've got different head sizings, things like that. Hair options. Let's go emo! Yeah, right, kidding. We'll go wild and change the hair color. You can remove your armor to kind of get an idea of your character's body build too, if that's you want to know their muscle definition, things like that. You can adjust eyes, the color, eyebrows, facial hair. The complexion, although I'm not really sure what constitutes as cute, but hey, you can see some of the changes as I scroll through them here. Then there's the tattoos, if that's your thing. And there's not too many options for scars, but they are there. And then each race also has some personal options, like Tieflings can adjust their horns and stuff like that. And the final options allow you to break down specific details, you know, like jaw width, body shape. You can scroll in and scroll out, change the body mass, things like that. And from there you come to the origin and deity page. And this is where you can choose what kind of person you're, like where you're from, what kind of person you are, what you did while you were there. And then you choose your deity, whatever deity it is that you serve at the time. Basically this serves zero purpose except lore and roleplay, pretty much just extra flavor. Then it's time for high adventure. Okay, so now that we've covered character creation, let's talk about some of the game basics. When you first log into the game, you're going to see this window. And this will suggest content for you, whatever's for your level. It'll give you a glimpse at the Foundry for player-made content. It also shows you upcoming hourly events, which are basically incentives to do various activities in the game for a bonus reward. The Gauntlgrim events are also found here, which is basically your Tolbarad, Winter's Grasp type zone with PvE and PvP content for endgame. Cash shop, daily quests, guild message, any holiday or seasonal events going on in-game, you can see all of that here. This calendar, it's self-explanatory. The LFG page, this is where you can queue up for PvP, dungeons, skirmishes, etc. Lastly is the catalog, and this gives you a more in-depth look at the Foundry content. Something that is interesting about Neverwinter that is also in other games is the built-in UI editor. It allows a nice quick way for you to modify the UI without having to use any third-party add-ons or anything like that, which I don't think Neverwinter has support for anyways. Let's take a quick look at the UI. Character and companion portrait up to the top left. Chat directly below that on the bottom left. Shortcuts across the top. This is all by default, so you can change this to the UI editor, of course. Invoke on the top right. Right beside that, you have your minimap. And then below that, you have your quest tracker. As you can see, mine's bugged out at the moment. To the top left of the minimap is a quick look at the current events. And your XP is across the bottom with your character vitals directly in the middle. So basically, Neverwinter is one of those action combat style MMOs. There's no cast timers, all of your abilities happen pretty much as you want them to. And let's talk about the different types of abilities. At-will abilities can be assigned to the left and right mouse click, and they happen instantaneously and have no cooldowns. Next, you have the encounter abilities, which you can assign to the Q, E, and R keys. These have cooldowns but have much more potent effects. Daily powers are available when you fill the action point dice in the middle of your screen via ability usage. These have a large cooldown but are incredibly powerful and can be assigned to the 1 and 2 keys. You also have the tab ability, which differentiates per class. Lastly, the 2 passives that can be slotted at a time. The remainder of your hotkeys are for your consumables, mount, and artifact. You'll get a quest at lower levels that explain what artifacts are in detail, not going into it here. Next, we can talk about the power system. Now this is how you're going to gain spells and abilities in Neverwinter. Every level you'll be given a point that you can spend in this section. As you spend points, further choices become available. You don't have to go to a class trainer, you don't have to do anything like that, it's all accessible directly through your character panel. At 5 points you get access to one set, 10 points you get another, and so on and so forth. Now this leads me to the feat system. The system works similarly to any other talent system you've seen in most games. Spend points, unlock a tier, rinse, repeat. At level 30, you'll get to choose a Paragon path, unless you're a Ranger, which they only have 1 at the moment. And each Paragon path has 3 sub-paths that you can take, which will define your role. As you can see here, the different paths for the Divine Oracle. Lastly is the boon section, and these are endgame character advancements that you can get via the campaign system. There's little perks and things like that that enhance the character. So the level cap in Neverwinter is level 60, so how are you going to get there? Well, questing mostly, but aside from that you can do PvP, dungeons, skirmishes, and even the Foundry. The Foundry is kind of a nice alternative because it gives you something fresh each time, because it's all player-made content, so there's something new constantly. But you'll mostly end up doing questing. It is still the fastest way, period. Dungeon queues are incredibly long leveling, and skirmishes aren't much better. Though you do get into them a bit faster. PvP isn't really worth it. You don't get much XP from it, and again, you're better off just questing. It's much faster. All the zones in the game are instanced, so it kind of takes away from the open world effect, but on the bright side, makes travel a hell of a lot faster. The quests, however, are very basic. It's a very old school MMO, kill X of Y, bring this to me, go talk to Bob, you know. But they do have these solo dungeon quests, which are kind of interesting. They offer kind of a unique and usually a pretty decent rewards and a bit of a break from this normal grind. Although some of the zones kind of overdo it and make it a little monotonous, but overall it's kind of a fun experience. Okay, so there's a couple other features in Neverwinter that I'd like to quickly talk about. Companions, crafting, invoking, and mounts. You'll receive a quest to get your first companion at level 15. And you may access through the character panel, and they give you a little bit of a walkthrough on how to take care of that. They play a somewhat pivotal role, as they can do a lighter version of most player roles, depending on what type of content you're looking to do, whether it's group or solo. You can't use them in PvP. Each bit has their own specific stats, abilities, and you can also equip them with gear and runes to enhance those abilities. They gain levels the same way you do, although different rarities of pets can go to higher levels than others. Crafting in Neverwinter works in real time, and you get a quest to learn how to do crafting at level 10. They'll give you a basic tutorial on how to do that. You send off workers to complete profession tasks in a set time. There are requirements, as well as perks and buffs you can apply to increase the yield and decrease the amount of time. Each profession covers a basic category of armor, weapon, consumable, etc., except for leadership, which provides currency, experience, and astral diamonds. And it's also a nice alternative for leveling alts or giving a little bump while you level. Profession mats have their own section in your inventory as well, so you don't have to worry about them clogging up your bags. And lastly, each class has access to specific nodes in-game which provide crafting mats and other goodies. At level 11, you learn the ability to Invoke. This ability has a 1-hour cooldown and can be used at any campfire, shrine, or portable altar. You get a unique currency, XP, astral diamonds, and sometimes other items or buffs. It has a diminishing return up to a 20-hour reset, so the more frequently you use it, the less rewards you're going to get. You can use those currencies to access a special shop via the icon by your Invoke by the top of the minimap. And at level 20, you get your quest to get your first mount. Well, I guess that just about covers it. Oh, wait. We didn't talk about group content and endgame. Everybody's favorite part. Well, for group content, you have skirmishes, dungeons, and PvP. Skirmishes are small 5-man encounters that don't require their normal rolls, and they usually take about 10 minutes to clear. I guess you could kind of compare them to the scenarios in World of Warcraft, except these ones have less variations and less objectives. It's mostly just kill things. Dungeons are large-scale 5-man encounters that take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the group and the dungeon. Basic group instance contents you would find in any game. Some unique boss encounters, but nothing to get too excited about. Although there are a few instance-breaking bugs that some people seem to force exploits on. So, beware of that. And then lastly, there's PvP, which, to be perfectly honest, is complete crap in Neverwinter. I'm not much of a PvPer anyways, but here there are only 2 PvP maps, and they are both the exact same playstyle. It's unbalanced and broken, and they haven't done anything to fix it. So when we look at endgame in Neverwinter, you still have PvP. No thanks. Skirmishes with better rewards. But they're locked as well. There's one specifically for level 60 players. There's Gauntlgrim, excuse my pronunciation on that, which is comparable to Tolbarad or Winter's Grasp in World of Warcraft in a sense that it has both PvP and PvE content, and then it's only available for a certain time of day. There's campaigns, which are solo play content with small dungeons and small solo dungeons rather, and daily quests to get fairly decent rewards and boons. The system is very similar to something you might have seen from Isle of Thunder or Isle of Quel'Danas in World of Warcraft. Dungeons get a step up in difficulty at max level and are broken down into tiers. Tier 1 barely requires a trinity if you play it right. You can do it with 2 clerics instead of having a proper tank or a great weapon fighter and a cleric, or, you know, pretty much you need a cleric, but everything else you can forego. Tier 2 steps it up and offers a bit better rewards, but the real action is in Castle Never, Malabog's Castle, and Valindra's Tower. Each tier is available through the LFG system, but is locked behind a gear rating, so you're actually going to have to get the gear first. You can't get carried through the stuff. Malabog and Valindra can only be unlocked by completing campaign tasks from their respected zones. Lastly, you have collections and achievements you can work on for those completionists out there. And for those interested in accessing the game outside of the game, Neverwinter has a cool browser-based portal you can access. And from there, you can manage your professions, auctions, companions, and even have a small mini-game you can play to give your companions experience points and provide some piddly rewards for your character. I will put a link in the description for the Neverwinter Gateway. And real quick, right here at the end, let's talk about the cash shop. Most of the items in here are not game-breaking unless I'm missing something. Most of them are just mostly vanity items. The shop uses the currency Zen, which you can either purchase through Perfect World Entertainment's website, or you can trade Astral Diamonds for via the exchange in-game. A lot of annoying things are locked behind Astral Diamonds and or Zen, such as bag space, faster mounts, enchants for your max level gear, companion ranks, just stuff like that, and that's honestly what irritates me. But I suppose since it's completely free, they have to make money somewhere. Aside from that, I don't really see much that's broken in the shop. I know there was a lot of people complaining about pay to win. Unless I'm missing something, I don't see it. And that's Neverwinter in a rather large nutshell. Personally, I find it enjoyable as a game to jump on once a week or so. Every now and then it sucks me in for a couple days, but honestly, it doesn't have the meat for me to keep me playing for a long period of time. Perhaps you might feel different, but my goal here was just to shed some light on the game and let you develop your own opinion. Neverwinter is available for download for free via Steam, or you can go directly to Perfect World Entertainment's website, which I'll provide in the description. Well, folks, I guess I'm done here. If you enjoyed this look at Neverwinter in the slightest, please comment, rate, and or subscribe. Be appreciated. Check back for more looks at other games and guides for Neverwinter in the near future. Thanks for watching. Ciao.